You're now listening to the Fullerton Unfiltered podcast. Straightforward, no nonsense business advice. Completely unfiltered. Grow your business. Grow your life. Now, here's your host, Brian Fullerton.
Hey, what's going on, guys? Well, welcome to another episode of the Fullerton Unfiltered podcast. Thanks so much for joining in with us. Guys, I've got a really special podcast for you guys today. We have two special guests joining us on the line. We have none other than my personal bookkeepers. We have Tom and Cheryl Skynar with Skynar BookKeeping. Guys, what's going on? How you guys doing?
Hey, Brian.
Hi, we're doing great.
Awesome. You guys enjoying this beautiful Michigan day that we finally have? Some nice weather?
Yeah, finally. I did get out and I got the couple minutes of sunshine I could.
Amen.
Yeah, you got to enjoy it while it lasts in Michigan, right?
I know. Well, just 2 days ago, we were getting snow showers and flurries. We're actually recording this like May 12th or something like that today, which if you're in Michigan, you're getting snow in May, that's a problem, you know? So, but
exactly.
So long story short, for all of you guys listening in, one of the most requested topics I get is asking about bookkeeping, like, you know, keeping receipts, QuickBooks, bookkeeping. You know, how do you keep track of everything? How do you keep track of your numbers? Who creates reports? You know, really, really good questions. Honestly, I had the same questions for over a decade. I don't know if you guys listening to this might relate, but I was always the keep a shoebox full of receipts kind of guy. And Tom and Cheryl, you guys have seen that one too many times. Am I right?
Yep, it's not uncommon for people to do that.
Right. Well, and that's okay. You know, maybe like your first year in business or maybe two, but it's not something that we want to see you guys doing forever or advise you guys to do. And in fact, like I said, about a year and a half ago, I had to really kind of clean up my businesses on the back end. One of my friends, Mike, gave me a lot of coaching and suggestions, and so we've been going through the crucible here. And so behind the scenes, I wanted to introduce you guys to my team. You know, we've had our CPAs, we've had our corporate attorneys on, and now another part, we've had our payroll folks on. And so another part of the team behind the scenes that's helping run my two small businesses is our bookkeeper. And these guys, I'll tell you what, I appreciate the other three components of our team, but you want to talk about people I super appreciate, it's my bookkeepers, because Cheryl and one of her employees, Erica, that's assigned to me, have just been miracle workers trying to get my ducks in a row. And I really, really, really appreciate what they do. I'll be honest with you. So let's do this. I want to talk about Tom and Cheryl, maybe just hear your guys' story here, because you guys have been doing professional bookkeeping services for almost 20 years, which is awesome. Cheryl is a advanced QuickBooks certified pro advisor, which is really, really awesome. She's in like the top 1 or 2% of people that are certified with QuickBooks, and so she knows how to use the software and do a really good job with what they do. And so, Tom and Cheryl, how did you guys decide to get into bookkeeping and start a business for bookkeeping for small business owners? What is your guys' story like?
Well, it's as strange as it sounds, accounting and bookkeeping is my passion. Nothing makes me happier than to have everything all nice and pretty and all the reports making sense. And I worked in the corporate world for a long time and did this for some bigger companies. And as I was driving back and forth to work every day, passing lots and lots of small businesses in my local community, it's like, why am I not doing this helping the little guy?
Okay.
The big guys are getting rich over and over again, but there's a lot of businesses in my area that I would like to help. And so really it just kind of, I paired the talents and the love that I have with what my passion was to help other small business owners succeed.
Okay.
And in a nutshell, that was my passion and my thought process.
I love it.
It started out that Cheryl was working, like she said, for other corporations, and we started just simply picking one company that she would work for on a Monday. The next would be on a Tuesday, and we went from 5 clients to well over 100 now. And our passion, like she said, has always been helping small businesses. That's what the end game for Cheryl and I is, to make sure that other businesses like us succeed.
Okay. Awesome. And you guys have been doing this for, like Cheryl was alluding to, almost 20 years, which is just, just a true testament. You guys are solid. You guys have been doing this for a while. Because that was one of my questions that I interviewed to you, Tom, when you were getting to know me on our consultation. I said, "Hey, how long have you guys been doing this?" And you're like, "Almost 20 years." And I said, "Good. I don't want the new guy." You know what I mean? So, that's really, really cool.
Yeah, and everybody, when we hire people to work on our staff, we make sure that they have that kind of experience and background behind them as well. So everybody on our team has, 20, 30 years of experience too.
Wow.
So that's one of the things that we want to bring to the table is having the knowledge, the experience, and the trustworthiness of, to the small business owner.
Sure. It's incredibly important to me because it's credibility, and it makes me feel really comfortable using you guys too. So, well, let's do this. Before we jump into it, we've got tons of questions that, like I said, like what is a bookkeeper? What does a bookkeeper do? Why you shouldn't be running everything in a shoebox? All the different reporting that can help you run your business, and like P&Ls and profit and loss. We're going to get into all this. So let's do this. Let's hear from the announcements, and then we're going to jump right back into things.
Have you ever thought about starting your own lawn and landscaping business, but not sure where to start? Look no further than LawnTrepreneurAcademy.com, an e-training website dedicated to helping you start and grow a successful lawn care business. Save more time and make way more money by learning exactly what it takes to grow your business to the next level. Invest in your future by first investing in yourself. Use promo code PODCAST to save 10% on all training programs today at LawnTrepreneurAcademy.com. Now, back to the show.
Awesome. All right. So let's just jump into it because Cheryl and Tom, you guys have tons of information, tons of knowledge and experience doing this. And I don't want to, take you guys this whole afternoon as well. So here's the deal. What is a bookkeeper? We're doing a fastball right down the middle, but what does a bookkeeper do for a small business like mine? Cheryl or Tom, if one of you guys want to take it away.
Yeah, I'll answer that. So a lot of people will have a tax preparer or a CPA that they see once, maybe twice a year. And so they'll ask themselves, well, why do I need a bookkeeper?
Mm-hmm.
The way I explain it so that everybody can understand it is that a bookkeeper takes all the puzzles of the 5,000-piece puzzle set and sits down and makes them all fit together and make sense.
Mm-hmm.
Your tax preparer, the CPA, they're the ones that take that completed puzzle and figure out what you're going to do with it. And so we have different talents and different skill sets between a CPA, tax preparer, and a bookkeeper. It's important to have a bookkeeper to keep track of your money in and money out on a very basic level. You want things tracked properly so that the information is correct for your tax returns, but also so that you can pay attention to your bottom line as a business owner and be able to make decisions on what to do with your business, how to make corrections throughout the year so that you get to the end result, which is making some money and then, being profitable in what you're doing.
Okay. And one thing too that I'd like to ad lib is that when you run your business in certain fashions, like as an LLC, and if you ever might receive an audit or something like that, if you have a receipt a shoebox full of receipts, the bookkeeping and the writing down of receipts and transactions, like that is one of the first tests that, from what I understand, that they're going to put you through is, are you properly documenting your business? Cheryl, can you weigh in on that a little bit? Is that something that you've noticed or that you can agree with, or what do you think?
Absolutely. I've known of cases where within the same time frame, two different businesses were being audited. One went in with a receipt for everything. It just was in a shoebox. It wasn't organized clearly or it wasn't organized at all.
Mm-hmm.
And the other company went in with everything neat and tidy and all the answers at a fingertip. They could, get to the information. They didn't have to wade through all of the receipts. The one that was less organized had a lot more scrutiny in the whole process. The one that had done the due diligence and done the work all along, they said, okay, you have all the information we need. You've answered our questions. You're all set.
Wow. Absolutely.
So,
If you look at a bookkeeper, what our function is to be data managers, to organize the data, to watch the money in, the money out,
Mm-hmm.
so you can utilize it at a finger's punch of the keyboard.
Mm-hmm.
Be able, if someone has a question on it, if a bill has been paid or if an invoice has been paid, you should be able to readily available, click a button and get through that information instead of flipping through, a shoebox of receipts to find that information.
Gotcha.
So it just gives the numbers some credibility that way as well.
Okay, so let's say somebody signs up with a bookkeeper, and we'll get into all that in a little bit here, but let's say they have QuickBooks. Maybe they're running QuickBooks Online, right, or something like that. What is QuickBooks Online showing them, and what do you guys help punch all that info into? What is QuickBooks Online showing them, Cheryl? It seems like you probably do more like the day-to-day like this. If I'm a business owner, I'm a lawn care guy. I'm busy slinging mulch all day. I'm trying to mow grass and lay stripes is what we call it, right? I'm a professional at doing that, but I might not be a bookkeeper. I might not be, looking at profit and loss statements and all these numbers. What does my online dashboard of QuickBooks do for me as a business owner? And what's available to us on that?
well, QuickBooks is really good being able to get you reports with literally one click of a button. Like you said, your dashboard, you can click and see how your business is doing.
Mm-hmm.
And you're interested in, as a business owner, you should be interested in what is profitable, where are you spending your time, and what is that translating into your business? I had a photographer that she had two different parts of her business. One was doing, a big part of it was doing graduation, senior pictures,
Mm-hmm.
and the other part was weddings. Well, the weddings were a big ticket. I mean, she was making a lot of money on those, as opposed to, a senior coming in for their senior pictures. But when we sat down and looked at her numbers and how much it was costing her in just money, being able to have all the cameras and the whole setup to do these wedding events that she had, not to mention she knew instinctively it was her weekends for the whole summer in Michigan. And then she looked at her profitability for senior pictures and she realized, you know what? I'm making more money doing senior pictures than I am doing these weddings throughout the year. And it wasn't until she took a step back and looked at her profit and her loss report and looked at it by the different categories to realize, these weddings are big tickets, but it's costing me more than I thought it was.
Wow. Well, that's huge though too, because I don't expect you guys to listen to our podcast regularly. You guys are running your business, but there's like a buzzword saying sort of in our industry right now, like know your numbers. And so, like you had just alluded to, Cheryl, like if you are ever scratching your head, you're like, well, I'm working so hard and I don't like really feel like I have any money left over, or not the profit that I thought would be left over. Like I did $100,000 this year, but I feel like I only made 20 or 30 grand. Like I don't have anything left in my savings or anything in the checking account that's like significant. And then, so what you're saying, Cheryl, is once you add up all those numbers and those receipts and you realize, well, you might have done 100 grand in business, but because you weren't tracking expenses, or you weren't on a budget, or you weren't focused on the bottom line, you can make 100 grand and spend 100 grand and make no money. You know what I mean? And so you're saying that by having your a finger on the pulse of your business with where your expenses are and all these daily, weekly, monthly, quarterly reports, it's kind of like your GPS. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, we want business owners to work smarter, not harder. Now, if it turns out, like this photographer, if she loves doing weddings, okay, she'll keep doing weddings, but at least she'll know I'm not going to get rich doing it.
Right. Sure.
So she's going to make an informed decision. And there's times in my business that I do something because I'm passionate about the purpose of the business I'm working with. Or, there's a lot of reasons why we take on clients that may not make sense on a report. So there's that human element. But, again, we're business owners. We're not doing a full charity. We have to come out with enough money to pay for what we have to for our families and to be profitable. So a lot of times what business owners intuitively think is making them money, they're shocked when they sit down and actually look at the reporting of it and realize this is why I don't have enough money to pay my bills, because I'm not making as much money after all of my expenses as I thought I was going to.
Do you feel like any of your clients, you kind of get I don't know if exposed is the right word, but you have to be very transparent, and sometimes my wife was actually like this before we signed up with you guys. She was like, so they're gonna have access to like everything? I go, yeah. She goes, well, I don't want anybody to know what we make. I go, there's only 3 or 4 people that like really get access to that, like, our CPA and our bookkeeper and my wife and I. And so like we're very, do you ever feel like people's finances are a very private thing, and that sometimes, I don't know if you guys get pushback or maybe some hesitancy. Do you guys ever notice that when you work with new clients?
Yeah, we definitely do. The very first thing that I do on the, I handle the business side of things, is we have to establish the trust level from the very beginning. That's one thing that I've always started right off the bat.
Yep.
It's having that confidentiality, because a lot of business owners, especially small business owners, their personal and business life are intertwined. And you have to have that trust level, just like you do with your doctor or your CPA or any kind of professional that you're working with that knows you intimately. You have to have that trust. So, anybody that hires a bookkeeper has to establish, can I trust this person with my personal finances, business or personal? So that's something we really try to strive in the very beginning.
That's really, really good. What would be like a qualifying question, or maybe what some of the ways that you establish trust with some of your new clients? Like any procedures you guys do, or just trying to have that conversation so that people feel comfortable with you, or what? Any suggestions if somebody's trying to find a bookkeeper out there that they can ask?
The very first thing is I have a consultation with that person on the phone or in person, depending on how we meet.
Sure.
And go through the history of our business and show them that we've been around for 20 years. We've been, we're established in the community. We're members of the Chamber of Commerce, that type of thing.
Gotcha.
But before I even start looking at their finances, I have a initial consultation agreement, is what we call it, establishing confidentiality between us and the client. We have, several businesses that are, in the same realm where they could be competing against each other. They want, some of them might want to know that, you're not going to give out my trade secrets to others because you're doing other people's books.
Sure.
That's not the way we. And then once we do review the books, we do another layer of building the trust, where we have a letter of engagement which outlines the services and fees, what we do, what we don't do, again reinforcing the confidentiality. So we have a personal contract with the person saying, we understand that this is important to you, it's important to us, it's important to our reputation, and that's how we try to establish the trust level from the very beginning.
That's awesome. That's really, really, personally, that was one of the biggest ones for me, because my wife and I, like, our business, our lawn and landscape company was starting to grow, and we were making, some good revenue, goods relative, by the way, guys listening in, good to one guy is $50,000 a year, and good to the next guy is $50,000 a month. So it's all relative. But my wife and I, our business was growing, and then we have a secondary company, a media company that we were essentially forced to create and establish to not commingle Brian's Law Maintenance, Lawn and Landscape with our YouTube channel. So we kind of had to actually make another company, and it started to bring in a couple bucks, and I was like, wow, there's some money moving in, and this happening, and basically Liz and I in the last 24 months, we started making more money. Just like a lot of you guys listening, the economy has been really healthy for small business owners. And I was like, look, I don't want people to know what I make. And it's not like it's, $5 million, we're not there yet. But I was really apprehensive to like sign up. Not necessarily with you, Tom, but I was just like, dude, I don't want to do this. I don't want anybody to know my issues. Like you said, it's like going to see your physician or something. You can lie to anybody. I don't think you should, but you can go lie to a bunch of people. But there's probably 3 or 4 people on this planet you shouldn't lie to, like, your pastor, your wife, your bookkeeper, and your CPA, right, Tom? So, because you guys,
exactly.
you guys get to see all the transactions, and I remember Erica taking over after, and she asked me all these questions, and I think they're called like AMAs, or like Ask My Accountant, and she was like, well, I'm just trying to categorize everything. What is this? What is that? And I was like, look, I don't know. I don't know. I'm trying to figure this all out too. And she's like, no problem, honey. Like we'll figure it out. We'll work together. And she was great. I mean, she's an angel, for sure. And I know you guys get copied on the same emails, and Cheryl's like, no problem. Like we'll figure it out. We've seen this 100 times. And so, you guys have been really, really helpful for me. Well, let me ask you guys this, maybe even to like kind of back up just one step. What, in your guys' opinion, what happens if somebody wants to do their own books? I mean, why even hire a bookkeeper? I mean, can't they just go buy QuickBooks, home edition for $69, or run their own QuickBooks online for $20 a month? In your opinion, like what's some of the pros of having a bookkeeper compared to doing it on your own?
Well, they very well could do it. And some small companies, when they're first starting out, that's the way that they have to do it.
Mm-hmm.
But at some point, how much time are you spending doing the book when you could be working on building your business?
Mm-hmm.
I tell some people that call us, what's it costing you not to use me?
Yep.
What are you losing in time and effort, going out to get that next project or that next, monthly subscription or whatever the type of business might be?
Mm-hmm.
I always say, go make your widgets and let me count your beans, because you end up spinning your wheels trying to make sure that you got things in the right buckets. And when we can do it readily, and quickly, based on an experience and knowing that type of business that we're working on, you can be. I've had clients that say they're spending 10 hours a week trying to keep their books up to date, paying their bills, invoices, when we can take that off their plate, and now they can really spend time on it. And another thing that what business owners don't always think of is you can't be an expert in everything.
Yep.
That's why you got to surround yourself with a solid professionals around you. Build your team, CPAs, lawyers, insurance agents, bookkeepers, because you can't keep on top of every nuance of that type of field. Let them be the experts. Get out of your own way and let your business grow by getting yourself into a good, solid team approach, and surround yourself with good experts.
That's huge.
One more thing I wanted to add is that, and I learned this from a seminar years ago, and it was talking about a contract, legal contract. And I'm one of those people that if I'm buying a car, I read every page on what I'm signing, and everyone gets irritated with me because I read it all.
Sure.
And so I felt very confident that when I sign contracts, I've done a good job reading it. Well, an attorney said to me, did you read what isn't there? I'm like, what do you mean? He goes, well, you're reading what's there, but you're not thinking about what's not there. And those contracts are written up to protect the person giving you the contract to sign. They're not written to protect you, the other party. And that has really stuck with me, and it also translates over into accounting. We're professionals. We do this all day, every day. We know what we should be seeing on your financials. A small business owner, just a one-guy business out there, maybe he's not thinking, hey, my cell phone should be a part of my business. I do all my work on my cell phone. But he's had the cell phone plan with Verizon for the last 20 years, and he just keeps paying for it out of his own pocket. Well, it may not even occur to him, I should switch that over to a business expense because I'm doing all of my business on my phone. And so we're looking out for those things that you might not be thinking of.
Wow.
And, $100 a month adds up, or $200 a month for your plan. It adds up really quick.
Totally.
And it's not like we're trying to play any games with the IRS. It's truly a business expense, and you may not have thought of it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, and that's I honestly, like, if I ended the podcast now when the Brian's Law Maintenance 10 years ago was listening to this, that's all like I would already need. Like that, if you're listening to this, I really hope you guys really, really own what they just said, because with what Tom was saying, if your job as a business owner is to do income producing activities, it's to sell, it's to produce and sell, like, until you can hire out sales and production, but that's the last thing you hire out. And like Tom said, if you're so bogged down from doing the production, the income producing activity, because you're busy filing tax forms, you're busy doing your paperwork, you're busy trying to register, your LLC, you're busy trying to trademark, and then at the end of the day, I hear this all the time, Tom and Cheryl, like, how do you get so much done? Like, I never have time to work. I never, I work, or they work 8 hours a day and they do another 3 hours a night of bookkeeping, accounting, and payroll. And that's fine. Like, if you want to do that, that's totally, totally fine. However, let's say, you make $100 an hour in your business, or I don't know, just for example. And let's say, once you really look at all the cost for the other three services, and let's say it's $1 a day or $3 a day for all these other services, like your bookkeeper, your CPA, and everything else. I'm coming up with a really rudimentary example here, but let's say it's $3 a day for the other three people on your team. Okay, so it's $10 extra per day to like have all these extra services working on your behalf. And so if I would just go work 1 extra hour, I would be able to pay for all of these people, which, by the way, like Tom said, are 9s and 10s in what they do. And if I was going to do it, I'm a 3 at payroll. I'm a 2 on bookkeeping. I'll tell you that. I've learned a lot about taxes the last 12 months, but I'm a 5. I'm a 4. I don't know what my CPA knows. He's got more letters after his last name than the alphabet does. You know what I'm saying? And so why wouldn't you just go work an extra half hour or an hour doing what you're doing with your business and then hire out a team around you? I think, Tom, what you said was huge, that business ownership is a team sport. And if you run your own business, you're not usually taught that. And frankly, like us being self-employed, we're very proud people, Tom. I don't know if you guys can relate, but we're like, if it's going to be, done, I got to do it my way. Like, nobody does it as good as I do. Well, that might be true on the income producing activity. Like, if you're a landscaper, go do the most beautiful, boutique, high-end, gorgeous landscaping install. But just because you want to do it all, it doesn't mean if you're a 10 at landscaping, you're a 10 at bookkeeping. Is that what you guys are basically saying?
Yeah, and I think one thing to add on to that, when you categorize yourself as a 3, and what Cheryl said is true, sometimes it's what you don't know that can end up hurting you. We've had clients that, didn't realize they had to submit this tax form or had to do this, for their payroll or whatever. Mm-hmm. And it ends up, they end up getting fined. They end up having to spend a lot of hours trying to rectify the situation. And that's all time lost that they can't get back. If they had someone up front that said, hey, you need to do this because it's time to submit this certain form, mm-hmm. It saves you a lot of time, headache, and money trying to fix that problem.
Totally.
So we get a lot of calls from people saying, hey, I screwed up. I need someone to fix it for me. And we say, we're happy to do it because we know the best way to proceed forward.
Sure.
So that's what we try to do.
Well, and just what to continue what you were just saying, like fees and fines, but in addition to that, it's something you just said, which was like the mental contribution. I mean, I mean, for crying out loud, most of my guys in my industry, Tom, we're coming home and I do the same thing. There's bids, there's quotes. I got to do callbacks and go estimate properties. But I don't want to be spending an hour a night tendering out my books or cashing out my books, or an hour a night. Hey, did I fill out that quarterly, payroll? Did I pay all my payroll taxes? Did they all go to the right place? Did sales tax? Did this and this and this? And again, I'm not saying be totally. What am I trying to say here? I totally trust all my team and my help, And my contribution is, hey, just to look over things or confirm things or sign my name to things, what an hour a month or an hour a week versus 10 or 20 hours a week. Because, I'll say that
you have to steer the ship, basically, is what you need to do.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. And so like you can have the greatest bookkeeper ever, but you still got to double check them. Not that I really do. I'll be honest. I trust Cheryl and Tom, because I know they're on it, and I get emails every week from them like, hey, we noticed this, or this is good, or did you notice this? And so I know that they're active. So yeah, no, I mean, this has been just really, really helpful stuff for me. I hope that you guys listening, you guys always want to know the X's and O's, like how do I, how's my relationship with my team behind the scenes work? And again, I don't have it all figured out, but this is stuff that has made my life significantly more fun the last 12 months. We've had more fun, less stress, less hassles, less worries. I'm able to sleep 10 times easier at night knowing all the T's are crossed and all the I's are dotted, if you will. So let's do this. We have so many more questions about how much is a bookkeeper, what's a bookkeeper need from you if you wanted to sign up. So let's do this. I'm going to take a quick sip of water here. We'll hear from the announcements again. We'll shake it up, and then we'll jump right back into things. So here we go.
Enjoying today's show? Motivated to take your lawn care and landscaping business to the next level? Learn what it takes to grow your lawn and landscaping business today with training and education from the Lawntrepreneur Academy. Get educated with how-tos on mulch installation, plowing snow, aeration and overseeding, and so much more. These training programs are designed to help you save time and make more money with your business. Invest in your future by first investing in yourself. Use promo code PODCAST to save 10% on all courses today at LawnTrepreneurAcademy.com. Now, back to the show.
Awesome. All right. Well, Tom, Cheryl, you guys are doing a great job so far. So thank you for your contribution. I know this is going to help a ton of people. And by the way, if you guys haven't left a 5-star rating or review, definitely, look down at your phone and hit 5 stars for these guys, especially because this is the first podcast that they've ever been on. And, we're shooting it from the hip here, but they're doing an amazing job. So kudos to you guys. I have a quick question. So this one was one of the questions submitted on Instagram, which was, what happens if you use personal funds to buy business expenses or like business, tools or equipment? If you have a bookkeeper, how do you communicate to them that you just use some personal funds, your credit card, or you bought something with cash? How do you reimburse yourself, or how do we log that?
Yeah, it happens that happens a lot, especially when you're just starting out a brand new business. You haven't made $1, but you have all kinds of expenses that are going out. Setting up your business, buying your QuickBooks, getting the stamps, all of that stuff, and it has to come out of your own pocket. And so when that happens, even though it may only be $20, you've invested $20 into your business. Mm-hmm. And what we ask is that we'd like to have some sort of documentation, either a receipt, your credit card statement. We don't really want it. The IRS would really want it if you ever do have your books looked at. But let us know what that expense was, the amount, the date, what it was for. And what we do is we go and we record that expense to your business, and then we show that the source was from you personally. Mm. And then when you're looking at your financial reports in any given period, you can see how much money you've invested out of your own personal pocket into your business.
Gotcha. So
and that's really important. Mm-hmm. That's important because when it comes time that your business is starting to make money and you're drawing money out of the business, you don't personally want to claim that as income if the business is just paying you back the money that you've put in to start it. So it's important to track those things.
So like, let's say you booked an airplane flight with your personal credit card because you get the points, right? And then, but it's a business trip. There's a way to still reimburse yourself for that expense.
Absolutely.
Beautiful. Love it. Good question. One of you guys, I think Lamont Harrison submitted that question. So what about common mistakes? We have so many questions. I'm coming at you guys rapid fire, but what's some common mistakes that you guys see new clients of yours making, or business owners in general making with their business as they sign up with a bookkeeping service? Any big ones, or even like little things that people can have on their radar as they sign up with a bookkeeper?
Yeah, one big one that we see a lot of is income getting recorded twice.
Mm.
And the way that happens is if you're making invoices in your QuickBooks and you're marking it as paid, and it's going into that abyss called undeposited funds, which nobody knows what that is. We just know that we marked that we got paid.
Mm-hmm.
Then they know that they go to the bank and they make a deposit into the bank with that money they got paid. Well, instead of moving the money from that undeposited funds account over into your checking account, they just say, hey, I earned this money. And what happens is your income gets doubled up, which looks great on a piece of paper, but it's not your reality. And if it's not caught, you can end up paying taxes on income that you never earned.
Oh, gotcha. Okay, fair enough.
The other thing I just wanted to say, and I'm a small business owner. I started out just like every other small business owner with not a whole lot of money coming in and a lot going out. It's important that you record everything, even if it's not exactly right. That's why it's important to have a checking account, a credit card that's only used for your business. Because if you're recording everything that goes in and out of those accounts, even if it isn't maybe in the exact perfect account, it's being tracked.
Sure.
And so that's another big problem that we see is that people have one checking account and they're doing all of their personal and of their business out of it. And that causes a lot of confusion, and the IRS really frowns on that.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah, that would be one of the first things as a business owner. Get different accounts that you only use for the business. For myself, when I started out, my business couldn't get a credit card because it didn't have a history.
Mm-hmm.
So I took my Discover card, and the only thing I used my Discover card for was my business expenses.
Okay.
And so myself, I just made sure I only used one credit card for my business.
So that was one of the things that I did last year, which was I had a credit card that I used for both businesses. And it wasn't really overly my fault because I didn't know that we would start a new company later that summer, you know what I mean, in July. And so one of the first things we did when we separated my companies, which was, of course, we created a new business checking account for my media company, but then we also, about a month or two later, applied for a credit card. And I surprisingly got a decent credit limit, which it wasn't like $500, which was really nice because, you know, businesses, they have pretty large expenses. And so I was really thankful that it got a decent line of credit. But yeah, you're totally right. So now when I signed up with you guys, we had to log certain credit cards with certain accounts. And what do you call all that? Like when we had to like integrate it all together so you knew what was to what account and so on and so forth?
QuickBooks Online and desktop too, but especially QuickBooks Online does a great job of syncing to your financial institutions, your banks, your credit cards. And every transaction that you do gets downloaded into your QuickBooks in a bank download area.
Mm-hmm.
And then what we do is we go through and we start to manage that data. Instead of having to key in everything, we manage the data. And so, because what comes down in the download is the date, the amount, a lot of times where you went. If you go to Office Max, the bank understands that's Office Max. QuickBooks understands that's Office Max, and we'll queue it up for you that all you have to do is manage that, how to categorize that in your QuickBooks.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a awesome feature of QuickBooks. It also can get you in a lot of trouble because, again, sometimes QuickBooks guesses wrong, and if you don't know what you're doing, you can say, yeah, do that, and it's not the right thing.
Sure.
But yeah, the bank downloads is a great way to get the information in. And again, now, this will happen a lot of times too. You have that credit card. You've been good. It's the only one used for the business, but it looks just like the one you use for personal. And you grab the wrong one and you use it for a personal expense. It's not the end of the world. We just need to understand, and that's a question that we'll say, hey, you went to, get this haircut, and are you sure you want that a business expense? You say, oh, no, I used the wrong card.
There you
That's
go.
totally fine. We just need to book it correctly that, hey, that was a personal expense that got put onto a business.
Gotcha.
You're not going to jail for it. It just needs to be tracked properly.
Gotcha. So proper documentation is huge, is what you're saying, and that's huge from an IRS audit standpoint and just running your business legit. And and then not commingling of funds, I think is what you're really trying to say with all of this. Is that right?
Absolutely, yeah.
I love it. I love it. Well, let me ask you guys this. Some questions that I know are like kind of like the elephant in the room with fees or costs or prices. I truly didn't know. Tom's probably gonna love this part. I truly didn't care. I was like, Tom, I need somebody. Just what does it cost? And so, Tom, if you want to maybe spend a few minutes on the fees and what it costs, because here's the bottom line. I do care because it's an expense, but I just know how much this was like eating away at my soul. Not to sound like really like crude, but like it was just such a mental drag for me. I was like, I have so many receipts, so many transactions. I'm buying $5,000 of mulch one week. I got 20 grand coming in 2 weeks later. I have, there's just so, like my business's velocity is just so much going on, just like you guys listening to this, where I was like, look, I don't care if it's $200, $300 a month, $50 a month. I don't even know. I did bounce it off my CPA. I was like, hey, this is what these guys want to charge, or this is their fees. Does this look normal? Or like in a ballpark? And he goes, yeah, that's about appropriate. I go, cool. Okay. Send it, if you will. So Tom, if somebody wanted to sign up with you guys, or even just a bookkeeper in general, do you have any suggestions or ideas of what they could be paying, or what it costs to have a bookkeeper that they have access to monthly?
It's hard to nail down exactly what it would be in a general term. It could be as low as, like you said, a couple $100 a month. It could be as high as a couple $1,000 a month.
Mm-hmm.
It depends on the amount of work that the bookkeeper is responsible for, the complexity of the business, the amount of transactions that are going through the system. Those are the kind of things that have to be looked at in order to properly address how much time, and it all comes down to time is money.
Mm-hmm.
How much time are we going to have to spend managing the data, managing the expenses, the money in, money out? And like you said, it comes down to what is it worth to you to have the peace of mind, to have the time back. I mean, I think the biggest thing that people are learning nowadays is the work-life balance.
Yes.
How much is it worth to you to have that time back, or be able to utilize that time in order to spend it somewhere else?
Mm-hmm.
But to get down to the root of it, it could be as low as a couple $100 or as high as a few thousand, depending on what the bookkeeper is going to be doing for you. We have all kinds of different rates. We have simple one-person companies that are very low, and we have other companies where we're their entire accounting department. So it really depends on who is asking that question, to be honest.
Gotcha. That's fair. No, totally get it. I'll say transparently, and I won't like give any of their numbers away, but if you guys want to get, a consultation with Tom or a CPA or a bookkeeper, of course, schedule one and just get intimate and just say like, hey, here's where I'm at. I think like we qualify for like one of the lower tiers with my media company because frankly, it's like a bunch of direct deposits in, not a lot of expenses other than like camera gear and stuff like that, which seem to be pretty expensive expenses. But there's not a lot of transactions. There's probably like 10 transactions a month. Now, my Brian's Law maintenance company, there could be a couple hundred transactions a month between buying tools, equipment, mulch, landscaping supplies, payroll, gas pump. I mean, we could easily run 200 to 400 transactions a month with my lawn and landscape company, which is, sub 250 grand a year. So if you guys are in that same boat, you might be, able to take some of those numbers and communicate that with your bookkeeper. So, Tom, go ahead.
To expand on that a little bit, it really depends on what the services are too. Some companies will want to continue to do their own invoicing, pay their bills, and we're doing, all the banking transactions and putting everything in the right buckets, as we say.
Yep.
Report out. Some companies, we're doing the invoicing for them. So it really depends on what they're asking, what their need level is, and we can fit any gambit that the people need.
I love it. Okay, good stuff. Good to know. One other question. I know I'm jumping around a little bit here, but what happens if somebody has a bookkeeper? Do they still need to hold on to their physical receipts? That was another question I got off of Instagram as I look at my phone.
We defer to what the CPA or their tax preparer wants them to do.
Okay.
There's been cases where if the electronic receipt is fine, and more that's the case as our world is evolving. That everything is electronic. Your credit card statement says exactly where you went, and a lot of your credit card statements will say what you bought. If you dig into the yearly spending.
Yep.
And so, why do you need one of those thermal receipts that in 6 months is going to evaporate to nothing anyway?
Yeah.
But there are some CPAs that I lovingly call them kind of old school. They want you to keep every single paper receipt. And if it's a thermal, they want you to make a copy of it so that there's, it won't
fade away. Yeah. We're talking like gas receipts, if you will.
The guidelines of the IRS are one thing. I've heard it could be anything less than over $75 you should keep a receipt. But it really depends on what your tax preparer thinks is the best course of action for you and your type of business. And there's a lot of ways you can keep those receipts. It doesn't have to be a physical shoebox or a file cabinet. It could be taking a picture. There's third-party softwares that will track that stuff and keep it for you by simply taking a picture with your phone. So there's a lot of ways you can make your life easier and still have that information.
I love it.
One of the cool features with QuickBooks is that you can attach documents to your transactions. And so, if you go out and you buy this piece of equipment for your business that, is a big expense, it's absolutely helpful to take the receipt from when you bought that. It gets made into a PDF. You can take a picture, scan it right up to QuickBooks Online, and attach it to that transaction so that you can go back any number of years from now and say, oh, yeah, why did I spend that money? And the receipt is right there. So that's handy from a business owner. And also, your tax preparer is going to want to know that if it's a big purchase, they're going to want to that receipt.
Yeah, my CPA, he's always like, hey, any expenses that I have that are over, I think $2,000, he wants a scanned receipt. He's like, all the other stuff he says, just file it, put it in like a kind of put it in a shoebox, but he says like categorize it in like a we've got these like I don't know, 2 foot by 2 foot little buckets. You guys know what I'm talking about, with all the different folders in there. And so they've got all the little labels, and like it would make my friend Mike Bedell proud. I'm telling you what. So they're all organized. But I'm always messaging Erica and Cheryl. I'm like, hey, do you guys need my receipts, or like, do I turn them in every 2 weeks? Because I didn't know. And Erica was like, no, just like hold on to them, categorize them if you can. But like you were just saying, Cheryl, like 99.9% of things you can essentially track online, with credit cards and all that. And even some of the banks are getting pretty good now, like you said, Cheryl, with how they report stuff. It's kind of creepy too, by the way, because they can see everything. So if I shop at certain stores, my wife gets a receipt, and I'm like, how did you know I'm at Home Depot again? And I'm like, hey, those Milwaukee drills are 25% off, And so anyway, but so
gotta buy a drill, right?
Gotta buy a drill, right? Exactly, Tom.
That's right.
Well, okay. So one other thing, the last question I have, I should say, is I wanted to talk about just like reports for a few minutes, because I really do think they're one of the more beneficial parts of QuickBooks and having a bookkeeper is. And this might take the whole conversation full circle with, you got to know your business, you got to know your numbers, you got to know how much money you're making, like what you're paying for everything. And, you don't have to necessarily pay attention to it, but somebody has to pay attention to it. And somebody has to focus on that stuff. Here's what I'm trying to say is that, like, for example, a lot of right now we're going through the pandemic, all this mess, and hopefully you're listening to this in the future. Like, we went through this really crazy 10-week window here in America, right? But for all of us listening to this like tomorrow or today, right now we're going through all these like PPP loans and EIDL loans and grants, unemployment, so many things going on at once. Okay. And so here's the deal. Right now, my companies are going through the PPP loan process, just like a lot of you guys that are listening to this. Now, I'm not going to get into the PPP loans. We talked about the CARES Act with Tom Wheelwright a couple episodes earlier, like maybe like mid-30s. So maybe go back and listen to that. But as we applied for the PPP loans, we needed to have a lot of reports So, Cheryl, maybe if you want to even like ad lib on this one, like I needed like from my payroll, like the 940, the 941, the 943, I needed quarterly payroll reports from fourth quarter. I wouldn't have had those reports if I didn't have a good payroll company to help me out with that. Now, maybe you can self audit and do the whole deal, and maybe you guys have those. I just know that two qualifications I had, or I needed two requirements I had to do the PPP loans was, what are my expenses, my monthly business expenses, and my quarterly payroll reports. And so if I didn't enlist professionals over the last 6 to 12 months, I wouldn't have had my payroll reports. And I honestly wouldn't have known what my business's expenses were in regards to rents, mortgages, utilities, and what was the fourth one? Rent, utility, mortgages, and payroll. And so, so Cheryl, can you talk about that? How these reports can help you out with like these exact situations? This is exactly the kind of stuff we're talking about.
Yeah, well, and with QuickBooks, you can run these reports on any time frame, which these PPP loans, when they come through, they're going to want to know what you spent in these various categories that you just mentioned between 8 weeks starting this date. And it's not always going to be a nice beginning of the month.
Right. Right.
We can take some reports and filter everything out except what you need to see, the rent, utilities, payroll, and be able to
come up with a number.
Yeah, come up with the bottom line number. I do know with any loan really that you might be going to for to your bank, but especially with this PPP, the clients that we had that were working with a payroll company had things processed, I believe, somewhat quicker than those that maybe just had it figured out by hand or from a company that wasn't a well-known payroll company.
Sure.
The payroll side of it. Because these reports are coming straight from a professional company. They're not going to be cooking the books, making numbers up. This is exactly what it is. And so that when the bank saw those, there was no question. They were accepted without having to dig into them.
I love it.
I do have a couple of clients that were smaller and they were doing their payroll on their own. And they ran into a few more problems with having things to be scrutinized a little bit more. Totally.
And that's the point of this whole podcast, guys, is just to help you, like Tom said, relieve a little bit of mental stress, help you guys get more organized. How honestly, for me, it was just like a lot less fear, a lot less anxiety. I don't know if your guys' chest ever hurts, like listening to this kind of stuff. Cause man, if I would have listened to this podcast 3 years ago, like I would have been like, I was not afraid. I just was really apprehensive. I had a lot of anxiety. I'm like, well, if I got audited, I don't know how to prove not really prove, but like, I didn't have any reports. Nothing was in a row. I'm like, look, dude, here's my box of receipts. And they'd be like, really, dude, you're running a business? I'm like, I'd give them the 2 thumbs up and the big grin, right, Tom? And
exactly.
And so for me personally, I'm just telling you guys, for me personally, I don't have it all figured out. You guys know I am a pretty transparent, open book. The last 12, 18 months, I feel so much more confident with how my life is going, the aircraft carrier behind the scenes, with bookkeepers and payroll. Like, we're doing things so much more right. I would say very, very right. Because we're moving a lot of money, like we're working with a lot of money now. We have to do things correctly. And Tom Wheelwright, on one of my podcasts, he said, you have to behave a certain way as a business owner. And like when the IRS or certain companies that have 3 letters, all these different organizations, they want to look at your books or your numbers, or you might be in trouble. You need to be behaving like an actual business owner. And business owners, they don't commingle funds. Business owners, they don't have business expenses coming out of personal accounts. Business owners, pay all of their quarterlies on time and their payroll taxes on time. You can't keep pretending or saying, oh, I forgot, or I didn't know, or I was just ignorant. You might be before you started the podcast 55 minutes ago, but don't just turn a blind eye after all this information is presented to you. I'm trying to put it on a silver platter here for you guys that are listening that might have been where I was at just 3 years ago, 5 years ago, even 10 years ago, of course. And so hopefully you guys find this podcast really helpful. I know I was going back and forth with Tom and Cheryl over the last 2 weeks, really week, and just locking down some good questions and trying to prepare them, for all these different things we're going to be talking about. So, Tom, Cheryl, super appreciate you guys jumping on the podcast. We'll wind down here. Let me ask you guys this: just open microphone, open mic. Is there anything that you guys wanted to maybe each convey as like a final thought, or anything that you think is super important that people should look at as they hire a bookkeeper or work with a bookkeeper over the next few years?
I think the biggest thing that I want to convey to people is that doing proper bookkeeping is not just a necessary evil to do your taxes. It is a tool to run your business. A lot of people, think that, I'll just wait till the end of the year and put everything together. Well, what about the first 12 months of that year? Were you making money? Where was your money spent? We can pull reports on and see trends. Where was my money spent? Why did advertising go up in this particular month when it wasn't the previous month? Those are the type of things that people don't understand because they're not used to it. It's when you're working with a bookkeeper, you got a teammate that can look out for your money in and your money out, and you can make sound decisions. And when you go to a bank looking for a loan and they see that you have your act together, that you're a professional, that you have everything organized, they're much more likely to want to work with someone like that than someone that walks in and says, "This is my box of receipts. I'm not sure where my business stands." So that's what we want to convey, and that's what we started our business for, is to educate business owners. This is why you want to do it. This is what these numbers are showing you. This is what this report is teaching you, so that you can make sound decisions moving forward.
That is so good. That is, I don't know. Like, it's just funny. Every time I talk to a professional, they always talk about building a team. And what you just said is like echoes what almost 3 other guys have said. Like, and none of y'all are like comparing notes. That's like why it's even more awesome to me. Like you said, you can get to build a budget. I mean, you get to look at your numbers. Tom, the other Tom, he had said that without running your business with accurate numbers and talking to your CPA and your bookkeeper, he said at minimum quarterly, but he suggests monthly even, depending on where you're at. It's like trying to plan a trip with the GPS, and we all know the analogy. And January 1, you're from LA trying to go to New York, but you don't look at it for another 11 months and you wind up in, Florida. And not only do you not get where you're going, but now you're in the wrong place too. And so he said the same thing. He said, you got to have those monthly conversations and looking at your bookkeeping and your taxes and your payroll and everything in between, because that's your GPS. So, man, what you just said was, it just fired me up.
Numbers, if you have sound numbers, month in, month out, now you can start doing projections on where you're going to be in 6 months. What is it going to take for me to buy this new piece of equipment? At what point do I need to hire someone? Those are the kind of things that if you have sound numbers, you can make decisions and not just throw a dart against the dartboard hoping that it will work.
Well, now you're sounding like my friend Mike Bedell. he's like a hobbyist. Like he's really good, but like this is his hobby. It's 2 things: weather and his books. He takes a lot of pride in them, and he does a really good job. And this is what's elicited a lot of the conversations and questions that I ask you guys and my professionals. And Mike Bedell's a little bit more DIY, but he's on it. And I think his uncle is or brother-in-law or something like that. I think it's his uncle is always looking at over his shoulders and making sure that he's doing a good job. But so and he's always talking about projections and what BPM, his company, can do and what it's looking like, and when he already knows when his company can buy new equipment based on projections and budgets based on past trends and future trends. And he's like, well, I'm going to look at my budget and my reports. And I'm like, what are you talking about? And he's like, well, we're not due for a new mower until 14 more months. I'm like, what are you talking about? He goes, well, that's when my budget tells me to buy a new mower based on all these different things. And it's it's just a very data-driven, fact-driven way to run your company, and it's a mature way to run your company. I'll say that. So
Yeah.
Anyway, Cheryl, you got to take it away. You get the wrap-up thought. We wanted to make sure that we had the woman of the hour, the brains of the operation, get the final thought, right, Tom? So
Exactly.
Well, I would just say, don't be intimidated with whoever you're working with. You want to have someone that you feel is a partner in your company. It's just like choosing a doctor you're comfortable with or whatever professional. You want a bookkeeper that you feel that you can ask a question. There are no dumb questions. You don't know this. I don't know the first thing about the different types of graphs or whatever it is in your business that I don't know about.
Yep.
So to you, it's common sense. To me, I don't know because I'm not exposed to that. So don't be intimidated to ask questions of your bookkeeper. And, I've seen all different size businesses. And just because someone looks like they're a big business and looks like they have it all together, they may not. And you guys are entrepreneurs. You're already stepping out into a world that not everyone has the guts to step into. And so give yourself credit for that. And we all start somewhere. And so, don't be afraid to have that person help you along the way with doing your books properly and helping you get on the right path. But give yourself credit and don't be intimidated by whomever you're working with. They should be your partner in this.
I love it. That's you. And I'll add, don't be afraid if they ask you questions back. There's a lot of times where you guys, I'm asking you questions, but then you're asking me questions back, and I'm like, look, I have no idea. I don't know. And that's where you guys have coached me and helped me, and like you said, sort of held my hand through the process to make this work. And now the first couple of months was a little rough. It was all on my end. I was like pumping the brakes. I'm like, I don't know. And now it's a little bit more of a well-oiled machine about 9 to 12 months later. So it's been very, very helpful. So I appreciate you guys powering my businesses behind the scenes. So you guys are a great asset to my team. So I couldn't be more thankful myself. So cool deal.
I appreciate that.
For sure. Well, all right, guys. Well, hey, we'll wrap up with this. Any last things that you guys want to add? And if not, we'll wrap this guy up.
No, we appreciate you having us on. It's like Cheryl said in the beginning, helping small businesses is our passion. So getting any information out there, answering anybody's questions in this type of format is awesome to us. So we appreciate you giving us this avenue to kind of take the stress level off, the fear factor, that this is something that all small businesses can do. They can afford it. They need to do it. So we appreciate that.
100%. And by the way, shameless plug, if you guys wanted to make yourselves available or available for new clients, I'm sure you guys can do in-state, out-of-state with the internet, because frankly, we haven't even met in person. And once the restaurants open up, I'm going to take you guys to Eddie Merlot's or something really nice in town. So, because we haven't been able to see each other because I was doing snow and winter and it was just too busy. And then I had my live event the fall before and it was too busy and always too busy. But we need to catch up and actually get to meet in real life. But I've had like 10,000 conversations with you guys, which is great. But if somebody wanted to learn more about Skynar BookKeeping services, do you guys have like a website or a phone number they could reach out to you guys?
Yeah, it's SkynarBookKeeping.com, and our last name is SKYNAR Bookkeeping, and don't forget there's 2 Ks in bookkeeping.
Gotcha.
Our phone number is 734-335-7702. Just ask for Tom, that's me, and I can walk you through the process if you have any questions. We have clients all over the country, so we're used to the type of environment we're working in today. So
I love
we can help out anybody that has any questions.
Well, good deal. Well, cool stuff. All right. Well, hey guys, thanks so much for listening to this episode of the Fullerton Unfiltered podcast. Tom and Cheryl, thanks so much for taking time out of your busy afternoon and jumping on with us as well. So guys, that's it. We're going to wrap this one up here. Thanks for listening to another episode of the Fullerton Unfiltered podcast. Thanks for leaving those reviews and ratings, guys, for sure. And we'll look forward to catching up with you guys on the next episode.
Thanks for taking the time to listen to the Fullerton Unfiltered podcast with Brian Fullerton. We hope you enjoyed this production. If so, please consider leaving us a 5-star review for the show. While the techniques and ideas presented here are designed to help you grow a more successful and profitable business, no one can guarantee these results for you. We want to emphasize that entrepreneurship is not easy, and the ideas presented here are just the opinions of Brian Fullerton and his respective guests. No one can guarantee success for you. That being said, we hope the ideas presented here help you and motivate you to go on out there and crush it with your own business.
Fullerton Unfiltered Podcast.
Thanks for listening, and we hope to see you on the next episode.